Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today is my diary entry for the week of October 2nd through 8th. Today is Saturday, October 8th. So, it was supposed to be a cooler week this week, but even though it didn't get as hot as it was supposed to, it still got to like 89 degrees, which for me is still very, very hot. So, it wasn't the week that I was hoping for, but next week is supposed to dip down for at least a couple days, so we'll see about that. The weather's been very, very finicky lately and can't seem to decide where it's going to be because the forecast keeps changing like daily. So, yeah. Unfortunately, it wasn't as good as I was hoping as far as the weather goes, but I did finish 2 books this week and I got some progress done on 2 knitting projects. So that's really good, and then I will catch you up with what I've been watching towards the end of this clip. So we'll start off, as always, with what I've finished reading, and let's get into it. So I finished 2 things this week, which is awesome because it's just like the first full week of the month, and I've finished 2 things that I've started in the month of October. So I'm feeling really good about my progress so far. Even though, as I look towards everything else I'm supposed to be reading this month, I'm still feeling a little bit uneasy. But 2 things finished this week. The first of which was something completely unplanned and not on my TBR for the month. So I read the second book in the Five Nights at Freddy's series, which is The Twisted Ones. This is by Scott Cawthon and Kira Breed-Wrisly. I think that's how you pronounce your name. This is the second book in the Five Nights at Freddy series, like I said. This one follows a little bit more of a mystery element where, trying not to be spoilery here, some dead bodies start popping up, and they have some unusually familiar characteristics. I think that's all I'm going to say about that one. I listened to this one completely on audiobook. I borrowed it from my library through Libby this time. I thought that I would combination read this one because I also was able to borrow a copy of the ebook as I don't have a physical copy. We will be getting a physical copy, just so you know. But yeah, I enjoyed this one. I will say that the main character, Charlie, her voice was really getting on my nerves. I want to believe that it's just the way that her lines were being narrated, which is the reason why I was getting so irritated with her. I don't know for sure, though, because I haven't actually read the book with my eyes. So yeah, I do know that, you know, audiobooks and the way that lines are presented and delivered, they always have an impact as to how, you know, the person listening to it receives it. And for me, the way I interpreted what was coming across for Charlie was very irritating. I can't even give you descriptions or examples because it would be spoilery, but this one, more than the first book, she irritated me. So yeah, I would understand some of her antics if these books were set where they were younger, say maybe early high school, late intermediate years, but at the where the first book takes place, they're already in their senior year of high school, getting ready for college, like at the very end of their senior year, if not the summertime between. And in this particular installment, they're already in college. So the way that Charlie acts is very, very much like someone I would perceive, you know, intermediate school, late elementary, maybe early high school, but that would be pushing it, acts. And so that kind of disconnect for me took me out of the story a little bit. But again, like, if I had read it instead of listening to it, would I have perceived some of the things she said differently? I don't know. I'd be interested to see that. I do plan on revisiting the series just by reading the physical copies sometime later. I'll probably not do that so soon though, because the story is really fresh in my head. But I did enjoy the mystery element of this, and we get a little bit more filled in on some of the things that were happening in the first book, as well as this new element. And yeah, I enjoyed this one so much that I immediately jumped into the third one, but I'm only a chapter in, so yeah. That will be my second unplanned read for the month, but I ended up giving the Twisted Ones 4 stars. I am able to slide that one in as a steal from another team prompt for the Camp Crystal Lake Readathon, so that is good. And yeah, I really enjoyed that, and it was very entertaining on my lunch breaks. So I listened to that one this week, and then last night I finished Frostbite, which is the second book in the Vampire Academy series by Richelle Mead. And this one, we have another mystery element where at the very beginning of this book, massacre has been come upon by Rose and Dimitri of a royal Moroi family. And so they're trying to figure out what the motive was, and it looks like there are some interesting pieces of evidence in regards to this. And so yeah, that's the mystery element. But of course we also follow normal teen drama. I would say that for me, the beginning of this book started off really good, and then it slowed down a lot in the middle, and then towards the end it picked up again. I'm really not one for teen drama, and for me the middle of this book is packed heavily with teen drama, and so I really wasn't interested in that. But the beginning of the book and the end, where all the action is coming out and everything is kind of wrapping up, is where my attention was. I did enjoy this one. I also ended up giving this one 4 stars. Yeah, I mean, I really don't know what else to say. The teen drama drug this down for me, but I understand that I am not of the age range where this story is being, marketed to. If I had read this when I was, say, 15, I would probably be more interested in what was going on, the personal relationships and things like that. But that stuff is just not stuff that I'm into now, and I don't know for sure that I would have been interested in it when I was 15 either, because when I was 15 I was reading lots of murder mysteries. That was always my thing. So while this has a murder mystery element to it, it's still heavy on the teen drama and teen romance kind of storylines. But yeah, I'm interested to see where this will go. I'm debating on whether I want to jump right into the third one. I will say that I am watching the Vampire Academy TV series, and I am very, very confused. It feels like they've just taken little bits and pieces to be able to call the TV series Vampire Academy, but that the story is like completely different. Like, completely different. I don't even no, I would even say that's a completely different entity, because while there are things I can recognize, like character names and the Academy, I mean, nothing else seems to fit. And so, yeah, I would say that the TV show took little bits and pieces, minor pieces from what I've read so far, and incorporated it into the show and made a new story around it. So that's where I am with that right now. Like I said, it may just be that they've taken lots of elements from later on in this book series, and that's what we're seeing right now to push the TV show and the pacing of that, maybe. I don't know. But this is all that I've read so far, so I have no idea. So that's probably why I'm so confused, if in fact that's what they were doing. But yes, as for me, right now, the TV show is very, very different from the books. So that just makes me want to read the books even more, because I'm like, am I going to see more connections between the TV show and the book series the further I get into this series? I'm very, very curious. But yeah, I enjoyed this one, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the next one. I do feel like the mystery wasn't really wrapped up well. Like, it wasn't fleshed out to my satisfaction, I guess I will say. But it was still entertaining. I'm looking forward to the next one. So that's pretty much everything I'm reading right now. Like I said, I picked up the audiobook for the third Five Nights at Freddy's books, which is called The Fourth Closet. I started listening to that on my lunch at the end of my lunch break on Thursday. I haven't listened or read to any of it since. I was only able to get an audiobook from Hoopla, as there is a wait list on the audiobook from Libby and the ebook from Libby. So I do intend on listening to the audiobook for The Fourth Closet throughout next week, so I should have a review for that then. As for other reading, since I finished the novel that I was reading, I think I'm going to go ahead and jump into Devil's Line. But I may alternate read Devil's Line with another novel, because there are other novels I need to get to this month. And I feel like if I stick to Devil's Line, I may lose some reading time, since I typically only read 1 or 2 volumes a night. I think it would work much better for me if I read it with a novel. That way I can get 2 birds with 1 stone, if you will. So yeah, that's everything as far as reading goes. As far as knitting goes, I did cast on my sockoween project. So last week I had mentioned that the Bakery Bears podcast was doing a sockoween Halloween sock knitting knit along for their patrons during the month of October, and I really wanted to get in on that, and so I did go ahead and cast on another pair of socks. So you know that I already had a Halloween pair of socks on the needles, but the knit along, I believe, is for newly cast on socks, and so I just went ahead and cast this one on because it is a yarn that I have had in my stash for a while as a partial skein, because I had made my daughter a pair of socks with this yarn. So I'm using my portion of the skein, and I was able to finish a sock this week. So this is my first sock for Sockoween. This is Kay Jones's Crunkled sock pattern. So I did 15 rows of 2x2 ribbing. The Crunkled sock pattern, I think this is like 45 or so rows in here. I did a square heel turn, which is different from the pattern, with the garter edge. And then I did the umbrella toe, which is in the pattern. I believe in the actual Crunkled sock pattern, she has a French heel turn with no garter edge. And so I just did the garter edge because I wanted something a little bit different. And the garter edge is always so much cleaner for me on the pickup. I don't know, when I do a regular slip stitch pickup, one side looks really wonky for me. And then I always miss picking up both stitches. There's always one stitch where I miss picking up both stitches. And so I've got to like drop down and pick it up, and it's always a mess. But I like this. It looks real clean. I never ever have an issue with how the garter looks. So I think I may just keep doing that from now on because it's just so much cleaner. But anyway, this yarn is the Lolo Did It L'Original base, which is her 8515. In the Ghostbusters colorway. So I am affectionately calling these socks my Crunkled Ghostbusters, aka Do-Re-Egon 2. Because my daughters are Hermione Everyday socks, and when I did hers, I called them her Do-Re-Egon socks. Do-Re-Egon comes from, I believe, Ghostbusters 2. Towards the very beginning of the movie, they're in a courtroom and they're getting ready to collect the ghost in a courtroom, and they say Do-Re-Egon. And so that phrase has always kind of stuck with me since I was small. And so yeah, hers are Do-Re-Egon. These are Do-Re-Egon 2. Egon was always my favorite. But yes, so this is my first sock complete. This is Phil Kalana Araweta Classic. I don't know what the color number is, but hold on. My bag is on the floor. I'll pick it up and I'll grab the yarns to talk to you about. So I picked up my bag off the floor. It is this Disney bag that my mom made for me. And so I've got the Phil Kalana Araweta Classic in the colorway 139. It's just a nice burgundy color that I thought would go well with the Ghostbusters. So this is what I have left of the Ghostbusters colorway. Lolo did it original base. I tend to buy either the original base or the plush sock base. Those are kind of the two of her bases that I will primarily go for. I have a little bit of her everyday sock base. It just depends on what's available when I go to purchase. But yes, this has been sitting in my stash for a very, very long time. I believe the Do-Re-Egon socks I made for my daughter were like her second pair of socks. So yes, this has been sitting waiting for me. I do have another skein of the Ghostbusters from a different sale. So the colorway is slightly different because a different batch. But if I do run out, I do have a little bit more. I shouldn't though. When I weighed this skein, I had 60 grams worth of Ghostbusters. And I know people have done a pair of socks with heels and toes with like a mini sock set, so like a 50 gram mini sock set. So yeah, I will see. I should have enough though. I'm not feeling too stressed about this, but like I said, I do have another skein of Ghostbusters sitting in the stash, so it's not going to matter too much if I have to put it in on the foot, because nobody ever really sees the foot part. They only see what's on the leg, right? So yeah, I'm really, really happy with my sock. It is so squishy, this pattern. I definitely recommend it, and it works really well with how this dye job is. And yes, I thought it was about time I had some Crunkled socks for myself, because my mom, I made her a pair of Crunkled socks, but I never have made myself one. And so yeah, and I think my daughter will be getting a pair of Crunkleds in some self-striping sometime later. But yes, very, very happy with that. So let me put that back, and then I will share with you my progress on my Mostly Ghostly sweater, which isn't that much, but let me pull that out and show it to you also. Okay, so it's in my pumpkin bag from Stitching the High Notes. You can see that the bag is getting a bit more plump because the sweater is growing. So let me just pull this out. So, Mostly Ghostly. So I haven't done too much. Let me find my cauldron. Okay, so my cauldron is here. This is where it was when I talked to you last. And so I've only done about this much. It's still not enough for me to be able to lie this down flat and take a picture of the ghosty yolk. I think I need another couple inches. But yes, once I get that done, because right here it's really like all like scrunched up here in the corner, and so I really want it to lay flat, and so I can take that glow in the dark picture. But very, very happy with this. It's nice and squishy. I've been starting to think about how I want to do the bottom. The bottom instructions are that you do, ribbing, but since I am doing the A-line increases, this will be more like kind of tunic looking. I'm thinking about finishing it with an I-cord edge instead. I think that would look really nice. And so yeah, let me know what you think about that, since it's not gonna fit like a sweater. It's more gonna be like a shirt, I would say, like a princess A-line shirt. I think the I-cord edge would look nice. When I did the Moana sweater, I did the A-line shaping as well, but I did also do the ribbed edge because I was test knitting, so I had to go by instructions. But yeah, I think an I-cord edge might look really nice. It'll be a lot of work because I-cord, but I think for the finishing of it, it might look really nice. I would still keep the ribbing on the edge of the sleeve, since I have ribbing up here, and I would keep the ribbing for the sleeve. I'm thinking it'll probably be like a longer short sleeve, but not as long as a 3/4 length. So yeah, if you have any suggestions or want to weigh in on the I-cord edge versus the ribbing, let me know, because that would be helpful. But I was just thinking about it lately, even though I'm really far away from getting to that point. I just started to do the increases for the A-line shaping, so I've got quite a bit to go still. I'm still also wrestling with the idea of stopping work on this Mostly Ghostly and then casting on the pumpkin patch and getting through that color work yoke before coming back to the Mostly Ghostly. So yeah, lots of things to think about, but I have been enjoying my knitting lately. We have been watching quite a bit of TV because all of our regular shows are back on air. But as for movie watching, I did watch Hocus Pocus 2. I believe it was the night after I filmed this diary entry for you last week. We really enjoyed it. It still gave the same nostalgic feel of Hocus Pocus, but different. And I kind of wish I wasn't eating dinner when we were watching it, because there's a scene at the beginning in the Walgreens that kind of made me had to stop eating dinner for a little bit. But I really, really enjoyed it. We also watched last night, we watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie from 1992, I think. I had to watch that for my Camp Crystal Lake Readathon, since it is my group movie. We get points for watching that, and so I did do that. Very, very nostalgic. That scene at the end where you got the one vampire in his death throes. I cracked up when I watched it the first time when I was growing up, and I cracked up again. The daughter cracked up also. She still doesn't remember watching this the first time that she watched it, and cracking up in the same place. But yeah, it was entertaining. I think we will be watching Van Helsing next week to collect points on a different team's group movie, so that'll be interesting. And I think that's pretty much all there is to catch you up on this week. So I'm feeling really good about my progress as far as reading goes, even though I'm already off the TBR. But I did finish one thing on the TBR, and I was able to cash that in for points on a competing team for my readathon. So it's all good. It's all good. Let me know down in the comments below if you've read anything interesting this week or watched anything interesting. how you're doing with your readathons, if you are participating in one or multiple ones. If nothing else, you would just like to let me know that you were here. If you could leave me a bat emoji down in the comments below, that would be greatly appreciated and would really help me out. And that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy. And until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.